I would like to welcome everybody for this symposium on telecardiology. And this is something which we know is going to be important. And so basically what we've done is we've put together a set of real experts, domain experts. We have Sujit is joining us. He's an interventional cardiologist, structural interventionist from Stockton, California, and he runs a company called Click to Clinic, which has two different avatars, one Indian avatar and one US avatar, depending on the considerations of care in both the places. And he brings a lot of experience in this subject. He practices a fair amount of telecardiology in his routine practice. So I welcome you all to this panel discussion. I have a motley set of slides here, and which are just going to be the kind of a basis for discussion. I would request everybody to pitch in as and when they feel like. And can I get inputs now from Dr. Sujit Reddy and Dr. Ranjit Suri, so that we can get the US perspective on how much percentage of care could become virtual in cardiology. Sujit, are you there?
Yes, Dr. Dal. Yeah, that's a very good question and very dear to my heart, actually, because as Dr. Mathur mentioned, the patients having a feel like the human touch, the therapeutic benefit that a person gets when there's a human touch involved in the care. I was about the same opinion earlier, and I was tracking the telemedicine at some point, way back, and I read an article about the stethoscope, the digital stethoscope coming out, and that one, with the data sets from the digital stethoscope being uploaded into an app or into a server and then transmitted to the doctor. When I saw that, if you can have a digital stethoscope that can give you heart sounds, lung sounds, peritoneal sounds from the abdomen, what is the real need for a doctor to put the stethoscope on the patient, other than the placebo effect that the patient gets when there is a human touch to it. So that is when
we all had very exciting stories. We all had very exciting stories about doctors auscultating patients with their stethoscope still around their neck and not in their ears. So we understand that, but I want to know, post-COVID, how much has been the transition in your practice to a virtual care?
Yeah, so that's exactly where I'm coming right now. Your 70% I'm doing right now.
Or you're doing right now. So great. Yes. So I would like to get Sujit here for his comments so far, and also to tell us a little bit about these multitude of apps which have developed, including his app, which is like a Click to Clinic app, so that we...
So we were talking, I had some notes, if you go back into our routine workflow. So there should be a differentiation when cardiologist is thinking about his patients, divide them into outpatient practice and inpatient practice. Looking at the outpatient practice, you have a new patient and a follow-up patient. So what I'm doing right now is, for all new patients, I'm making sure that they're coming to the office, have all the PPE ready. The reason is you get to know the patients face to face, get to know them so that a rapport gets built up, and then I'm trying to do whatever follow-ups as an outpatient remotely. So if you look at that, what are the data sets that you require? Like blood pressure, a heart rate, pulse oximeter, a weighing scale to get the weights.
You got disconnected.
And if they're, and then if you look at it, there are different players coming up with their own apps. Apple has their 2-lead EKG. Now the patients come in and say, I have my EKG. What should I do? I can't do anything about it. I tell my patients, I don't know why Apple created this. What am I going to do with it? So everybody is working in silos. There is no unifying theme there. So what am I going to do? I'll tell you from my experience. We have a Click to Clinic health manager we created an application, mobile application for the US market, and integrated all the devices, whatever we mentioned, digital devices. The moment the patient checks that, gets into our manager app. And then we tried to integrate that into a practice. When we tried to do a proof of concept, we went into the EMR. And the EMR for one practice asked us $40,000 as a licensing fee to give an API for their EMR. That just takes actually a day's work for our technologists, right? So there is no mandate for an EMR player to open their program to other third-party sources. So that's where the innovation is being born in the United States. So the big players have that, the command of the market because EMR is mandated. So taking that experience, when we are doing the home healthcare in India, we came up with a patient application and then a provider application. And whatever we are doing it in the personal health record part of it. So the data, whatever the data that we are going to store, the patient's digital data, it's going to be in the patient application. That way, you're not worried about data breach, data privacy issues coming in. And if you look at it, Apple is working towards overcoming the EMR with the personal health record concept. You never know. We might be leading into a point wherein first PHR will take over the EMR. And that is where I'm thinking is going to go. Dr. Chandra just mentioned, we have multiple applications, multiple companies coming up with digital devices. We don't know what to do. Dr. Suri alluded to the fact that, I'm an interventional cardiologist and also device specialist. I have so many patients with pacemakers and defibrillators. I get their thoracic impedances every single day as an alert. What am I going to do with it? Unless there is a structured reimbursement involved in it. If it is a third-party player, you need to come up with a package for it. And then, there's only so much a particular person can do. If you are bombarded with this multiple millions and zillions of data sets, what is the treating doctor going to do? So we are dealing with, I think, data implosion. And then we need to figure out what is the minimum viable data that we need in vis-a-vis telehealth in order to come up and overcome the challenges that we're facing. Is my spiel on that.
Sujit, any closing point from your side?
Yes, going back to Dr. Goyal's point earlier about if I can make a point there, when you're dealing with telehealth and controlled substances, what we do here in the United States is, two-level authentication is what we do, how we overcome that barrier when you're prescribing controlled substances. So just a thought for you to look in the Indian perspective. As far as the telehealth in general and cardiology in general is concerned, I think we're going to live with this. The COVID was a blessing, blessing in disguise for telemedicine. It catapulted telemedicine into the mainstream, and patients are realizing it, regulators are realizing it, doctors are realizing it. We have to live with it. Now, having said that, if you look at the recent Bill Gates, statement about how well Indian government has nailed the financial payment system, wherein every financial application or an institution has to work with a unique payment interface. It's called a UPI. So the moment somebody pays money, Google or whatever, it's instant transfer to the bank is happening. So the UPI. So extending the same corollary into health, National Digital Health Mission is working on. I think they are on the right path. They're creating a unique health record for a patient. So you're basically creating a digi-locker, a digital locker, a medical locker. So all the patients' unique medical records, government maintains it, and then any third party can subscribe to it, pull that data, use it, point of care, and then the data goes back to the DigiLocker. I think National Digital Health Mission is working on a correct path. So, I think we have a very bright future in telemedicine going forward.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity. I thank all my distinguished panelists. I know I woke up Ranjit at 1 in the morning. Even for Sujit, it must be 9:30, 10 at night. And we've had Dr. Mohan, the president of the Cardiological Society of India, Dr. Manohar, who gave us a perspective of the STEMI India project. We've had Uman, who gave us a perspective, a bird's eye view into the National Digital Health Mission. Charit, I thank you all. Thank you for this opportunity. I will request Ashwini to send us a transcript because Charit has promised to help us in writing up a quick paper. And maybe we can include inputs from Ranjit. We can include lots of inputs came in the chat box from Uman. I'm going to download this, some of these articles. It'll be great. We can just have a group where some of these papers can be shared. And then Nishit is always keen to publish something. And I'm sure if we can get together something like a paper or a document, then we will also request the Cardiological Society of India to put up a working group and to take this further. Maybe if the opportunity arises, we'll hold a more detailed conversation on specific aspects. I think the wearables need to be discussed separately. The home monitoring needs to be discussed separately. Lots of issues need to be discussed separately.